Nobody believed when the boy approached the ferocious horse. Injured, enraged, and on the verge of being discarded, the animal was a living threat. But Tyler ignored the shouting and fear and did what no adult dared to try. In that moment, something extraordinary happened, and no one doubted the impossible anymore. If this story interested you, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and tell us what city you're watching from. We'll continue. I promise this will be the best story you'll ever hear in your life. The sun beat down mercilessly on the small town of New Field in rural Texas. Among the verdant hills and weathered wooden fences of Hope Ranch, Tyler, a 13-year-old boy, watched the movement of the ranch hands from a distance. Thin and reserved, he was the son of Sarah, the cook at the ranch house. Since his father had abandoned the family years ago, Tyler had grown up in the back of the property, invisible to the eyes of the owners and employees. "Tyler, stop standing there and come help me with these pots," Sarah shouted from the kitchen. "Window!" The boy sighed, but his eyes remained fixed on the horizon, where an enormous black horse was reluctant to enter the stable. 3 ranch hands were trying to control the animal with ropes and shouts. The horse reared up, neighed, and violently shook its head. "That's Tornado," explained Joe, one of the older handlers who was passing by carrying hay. "Arrived yesterday, from Colonel Harrison's ranch. An impossible beast. Already injured 3 professional trainers. They say he nearly finished off a handler down south." Tyler gulped, fascinated by the animal's strength and fury. "Why is he like that?" "Some horses are born too wild, kid. They're good for nothing but causing trouble," Joe replied, walking away. That night, while helping his mother wash the dinner dishes, Tyler couldn't get the black horse out of his head. "Mom, why do some animals get that angry?" Sarah dried her hands on her apron, looking at her son with curiosity. "Are you talking about that new horse? I heard Dr. Miller commenting that he paid a fortune for him, thinking he would be a champion. Big mistake." "But he seems scared." Sarah smiled tenderly, stroking her son's hair. "You've always seen what others don't, my son, since you were little, just like your grandfather." The next morning, taking advantage of everyone being busy with the arrival of new buyers, Tyler slipped away to the isolated paddock where they kept Tornado. The animal was alone, restless, pacing back and forth. When he noticed the boy's presence, he pricked up his ears and snorted, moving to the opposite end of the fence. Tyler sat down on the grass, at a safe distance. He didn't say anything, didn't try to approach. He just sat there, watching. An hour later, when the lunch bell rang, he got up and left without looking back. Day after day, he repeated the ritual. He would sit near the paddock, always in the same place, always in silence. Sometimes he would take a book from his backpack and read in a low voice, as if the horse wasn't there. Other times, he would just watch the clouds. "What do you think?" "You're doing?" Frank's deep, authoritative voice startled Tyler after 2 weeks of this routine. "Don't you know that animal is dangerous? You're forbidden to go near him." "I'm just sitting here, sir. I'm not bothering anyone." "Get out of here before I tell your mother and Dr. Miller." With a heavy heart, Tyler walked away. But the next day he returned, and the next, and the next. At some point, he noticed that the horse no longer moved away when he arrived. On the contrary, Tornado approached the fence, watching him with curiosity. On a particularly hot afternoon, while everyone was resting, Tyler brought an apple. He cut it into pieces and placed them on the fence. He stepped back and waited. To his surprise, the horse slowly approached and, after hesitating, took one of the pieces with his soft lips. What Tyler didn't notice was that Emma, Dr. Miller's 16-year-old daughter, was watching everything from a distance with a mixture of amazement and admiration. The sun was beginning to set when Emma approached Tyler, who was putting the last pieces of apple in his pocket. "How did you do that?" she asked, making the boy start. "Nobody has been able to get close to that horse without him trying to attack." Tyler shrugged, uncomfortable with the presence of the owner's daughter. "I didn't do anything special, Mom. I just had patience." Emma laughed, tucking her long brown hair behind her ear. "Ma'am? I'm only 16. Please call me Emma." She moved closer to the fence but kept her distance from the horse. You know, my dad's going to end up giving up on him. He's already spent a fortune on vets and trainers, but they all say the same thing. Tornado is beyond recovery. Tyler's eyes filled with surprising determination. He's not beyond recovery, he's just scared. Scared? A horse that size? Look at the scars on his back, Tyler pointed, and here, near his muzzle, someone hurt him, badly. Emma narrowed her eyes, observing the marks. She had never noticed before. Her expression changed. I'll talk to my dad. Maybe you can help. In the weeks that followed, despite Frank's distrust and that of the other employees, Dr. Miller authorized Tyler to continue his visits to the paddock, always under supervision from a distance. Progress was slow, but steady. Tornado now ate from the boy's hand and allowed him to approach the fence without showing agitation. "This is ridiculous," Frank complained during a meeting at the main house. "You're letting a kid with no experience handle a very dangerous animal, when that horse kills the boy who's going to be held responsible." Dr. Miller, a tall, middle-aged man with graying hair and a severe expression, watched through the window as Tyler sat calmly beside the fence, with Tornado grazing peacefully a few meters away. "You had 3 months, Frank. 3 months and tens of thousands of dollars in special equipment. And what did you achieve? Nothing. This boy in a few weeks can already get within less than 6 feet of the animal. With all due respect, Doctor, this isn't training, it's child's play." Emma, who was following the discussion, intervened. "Dad, let Tyler try. What do we have to lose?" On a Saturday morning, while the ranch was almost empty, Tyler did something unexpected. He opened the paddock gate and went in. Sarah, who had gone to bring lunch to her son, dropped the lunchbox on the ground. "Tyler, get out of there right now," she shouted, desperate. But the boy continued walking slowly toward the horse, which watched him with its ears pricked up, alert. A few meters away, Tyler stopped and extended his hand, without trying to touch the animal. He just waited. To the amazement of everyone who had now gathered at a distance, Tornado took a step forward, then another, and then, in a gesture that nobody believed was possible, the immense black horse touched its muzzle to the boy's outstretched hand. The news spread like wildfire through the ranch. The next morning, Dr. Miller summoned Tyler to the main house. "What did you do with that horse?" he asked, sitting behind his imposing wooden desk. "Nothing, sir. I just showed him I wouldn't hurt him." "How did you know he wouldn't attack you?" Tyler thought for a moment. By his eyes, they're not the eyes of a mean animal. They're the eyes of someone who has suffered a lot. Dr. Miller exchanged a significant look with his daughter, who was beside him. "I'm willing to do a test. I'll give you a month, Tyler. 1 month to show some real progress with Tornado. If you succeed, I'll officially hire you as a training assistant. If you fail, well, we'll have to sell the animal for slaughter." The boy's face paled. "You can't do that to him." "I can and I will if necessary. Business is business, kid." That night, Sarah found her son crying silently in his bed. "What is it, my son?" "Mom, I can't let them hurt Tornado. He's suffered so much already." Sarah sat down beside her son, stroking his hair. "Then show them what you see in this horse. Show them what your grandfather taught me, that sometimes you need to look with your heart to see the truth." The next morning, Tyler was at the paddock. Before the sun had even risen, he had made his decision. If he only had a month, he needed to do something nobody expected. He approached Tornado with a brush in his hand, and for the first time touched the horse's shiny black coat. The horse trembled, but didn't back away. 2 weeks had passed since Tyler began working officially with Tornado. The progress was visible to anyone who observed. The horse now allowed himself to be brushed, accepted the halter, and walked alongside the boy around the paddock without showing nervousness. Dr. Miller watched everything with growing interest, while Frank maintained a silence loaded with distrust. On a particularly hot afternoon, Emma appeared at the paddock carrying a light saddle. "Do you think he's ready?" she asked, offering the equipment to Tyler. The boy hesitated, analyzing Tornado's expression. "I don't know. We haven't tried anything like this yet. My dad is getting impatient. He wants concrete results, Tyler. Seeing the horse accepting a saddle would be a big step forward. With his heart racing, Tyler approached Tornado with the saddle in his hands. The animal observed the object with its ears pricked up. When Tyler tried to place it on his back, the unexpected happened. Tornado reared up violently, neighing in panic. His wide eyes showed absolute terror. Tyler fell backward. The saddle flew far away. Emma screamed, attracting the attention of everyone on the ranch. In seconds, Frank and 2 other ranch hands ran to the paddock, while Tornado galloped in circles, completely distraught. "I warned you," Frank shouted, opening the gate. "This animal is a danger." "No!" Tyler got up quickly, blocking the entrance. "Let him calm down. It was my fault. I went too fast." Frank pushed the boy aside. "Get out of the way, kid. This isn't a game." To everyone's surprise, Emma positioned herself between Frank and the gate. "My dad gave Tyler a month. There are still 2 weeks left." Her voice was firm, despite the visible trembling in her hands. "Let's respect that." That night, while everyone was having dinner at the main house, Frank made no effort to hide his indignation. "Dr. Miller, you're risking the ranch's reputation because of a boy with no experience. That horse should have been sold a long time." "Cargo." "To whom?" Emma retorted. "Everyone in the region already knows his story. Nobody wants a problematic animal." "Colonel Harrison is interested," said Frank with a strange gleam in his eyes. He offered a good amount, even knowing about the problems. Dr. Miller frowned. "Harrison? He doesn't breed horses for competition. What would he do with a thoroughbred? Like Tornado?" Frank shrugged. "He'd probably use him for breeding. What matters is that it would be a way to recover part of the investment." In the small house at the back of the property, Tyler couldn't sleep. The scene from the afternoon kept replaying in his mind. The terror in Tornado's eyes wasn't simple stubbornness or wildness. It was something deeper, a traumatic memory. At 4 in the morning, he got up silently. He took a flashlight and headed to the ranch's archives, a small room annexed to the main office. He knew it was forbidden, but he needed to understand Tornado's past. After an hour of rummaging through boxes of documents, he found the purchase folder. Tornado, 6 years, English thoroughbred, purchased from Sunrise Ranch. There was a DVD attached. Intrigued, Tyler took the disc and went back home. On the old computer that Emma had donated to his mother, he inserted the DVD. What he saw left him paralyzed. It was a video of Tornado's training at the previous ranch. A man using brutal methods. Whippings, sharp spurs, shouting, the horse tied in painful positions. The trainer was Jake Harrison, the colonel's son. The next morning, Tyler waited for Emma at the school entrance. "I need to talk to you," he said, handing her the DVD. "Now I understand why Tornado is so afraid." After watching the video, Emma had tears in her eyes. "I'll show this to my dad. He would never sell Tornado back to that family." That afternoon, Dr. Miller called a meeting with all the ranch employees. "I want to make one thing clear. Tornado is not for sale, to anyone." His gaze fixed on Frank. "And another thing. Tyler will have complete freedom to continue his work, for as long as necessary." Frank left the meeting furious. On his way to the stables, he secretly met with a man who was waiting at the back fence. "Harrison wants the horse back, Frank, and he's willing to pay well to whoever helps." "Forget it. The boss just vetoed any sale." The man smiled, revealing yellowed teeth. "There are other ways to get what we want." Days later, while Tyler was working with Tornado in the paddock, a strange noise startled the animal. It was the sound of an air rifle deliberately fired nearby. Tornado panicked, knocking Tyler down and trampling his arm before breaking through the fence and galloping away across the property. The entire ranch mobilized to find Tornado. Tyler, with his right arm immobilized by an improvised sling, insisted on participating in the search despite the excruciating pain. "You need to go to the hospital," Sarah insisted, holding her son by his good shoulder. "I can't, Mom. Tornado." Fail's scared. He could hurt himself or someone else. Dr. Miller organized 3 search teams. It was almost night when the radio crackled with the news. The horse had been spotted in the most remote area of the property, near the creek that bordered Colonel Harrison's land. "I'll go get him," declared Tyler, limping toward the pickup. "Truck? Don't be foolish," replied Dr. Miller, holding the keys. "You can barely stand. With all due respect, Doctor, if anyone gets close to him now, he'll run even farther. He trusts me." Emma, who was following everything closely, intervened. "Dad, Tyler's right. Let me drive him there." After a moment of hesitation, Dr. Miller nodded. "Be careful, that area is dangerous in the dark." On the way to the creek, Emma drove in silence, casting worried glances at Tyler. "How are you feeling?" she finally asked. "I'm fine," he lied, holding his painful arm. "Tyler," Emma slowed down, "why is this horse so important to you?" The boy stared into the darkness through the window. "When I look at him, I see the same thing people see when they look at me. Someone not worth the effort." His voice was almost a whisper. "Everyone thinks I know how to handle horses because of my grandfather, but the truth is I understand Tornado because I know what it's like to be left behind." Emma parked the pickup truck and gently touched Tyler's shoulder. "You weren't left behind, you just weren't really seen. Until now." They walked on foot for almost a mile until they found Tornado. The animal was standing next to a large tree, visibly trembling. Tyler approached slowly, speaking softly. To both their relief, the horse didn't run away. After a few minutes, the boy managed to put the halter on and calm the animal enough to guide him back. When they returned to the ranch, a surprise awaited them. Colonel Harrison in person, accompanied by his son Jake and 2 henchmen, was talking with Dr. Miller in the central yard. "Ah, there's the famous horse," said the colonel, a corpulent man with a thick mustache. "I was just making a generous offer to your father, young lady." Emma cast an alarmed look at her father, who seemed uncomfortable. "Colonel, I've already explained that the animal is not for sale. Reconsider, Miller. $100,000 for a problematic horse is more than generous." Tyler, still holding Tornado's lead, stepped forward. "He's not problematic, he was mistreated." Jake Harrison's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Watch what you say, kid. Are you insinuating something?" "I'm not insinuating anything." Tyler faced the man directly. "I saw the video of your training." A tense silence descended over the group. The colonel glanced sideways at his son before forcing a laugh. "What nonsense. Miller, are you going to let a little employee talk to your guests like that?" Dr. Miller walked slowly until he was standing beside Tyler. "It's not nonsense, Colonel. I saw the video too, and now I understand why you were so interested in buying Tornado back. To hide evidence of mistreatment, perhaps?" The colonel's face contorted with rage. "This is defamation. I'll sue you." "Do that," replied Dr. Miller calmly. "I'm sure the judges will be very interested in seeing those images. Now please leave my property." After the Harrisons' furious departure, Dr. Miller turned to Tyler. "We need to get you to the hospital, and when we come back, we'll talk about Tornado's future and yours." 3 days later, Tyler returned to the ranch with his arm properly casted. To his surprise, he found a small crowd gathered in the central arena. Dr. Miller waved for him to approach. "Tyler, I want you to meet Dr. Hannah Wilson. She's a specialist in equine behavior and came especially from Dallas to meet you and Tornado." A woman of about 40, with short hair and elegant posture, extended her hand to the boy. "I'm impressed with what I've heard about your work with this horse," she said, smiling. "Dr. Miller showed me the video of his transformation in the last few weeks." "Video?" Tyler looked confused at Emma, who smiled timidly. "I filmed some of your sessions with Tornado," she explained, "to document the progress." Dr. Wilson continued, "I'd like to propose something, Tyler. I'm putting together a team for a new project to rehabilitate traumatized horses. We need people with your natural gift." Tyler blinked, bewildered. "But I don't know anything. I just did what seemed right." "Sometimes that instinct is worth more than years of formal training," replied Hannah. "What you did with Tornado is remarkable. I'm offering an opportunity for learning and paid work. What do you think?" Before Tyler could answer, Dr. Miller intervened. "Actually, Hannah, I also have a proposal for the boy." He turned to Tyler. How would you feel about being the official assistant trainer at Hope Ranch? Sarah, who was watching everything from a distance, brought her hands to her face, emotional. Her son, the invisible boy, was now the center of attention, being disputed by two potential employers. Tyler looked at the paddock where Tornado was grazing peacefully. For the first time in his life, he had choices. He had a path ahead. And, all thanks to a horse that nobody wanted. Tyler's decision wasn't easy. After days of reflection and long conversations with his mother, the boy chose to accept Dr. Miller's proposal, with one condition: that he could participate in Dr. Wilson's project during the weekends. "It's the best of both worlds," Sarah explained, proudly as she arranged her son's first official uniform with the Hope Ranch logo embroidered on the chest. "You stay close to home, continue your studies, and still learn from a specialist." The news of Tyler's hiring spread quickly among the ranches in the region. Some people laughed at the idea of a 13-year-old boy as an assistant trainer. Others, especially after seeing the videos of Tornado, showed genuine interest in his approach. One September morning, while Tyler was working with Tornado on the exercise of accepting a light blanket on his back, a young unknown woman approached the arena. She was about 20, with black hair tied in a braid and the posture of someone who had spent her life riding. "Impressive," she commented, observing the interaction between the boy and the horse. "When they told me about you, I thought they were exaggerating." Tyler, wary of strangers near Tornado, remained silent. "My name is Kathy Lynch," she continued. "I'm from Sunrise Ranch, about 60 miles from here." "The Lynch family's ranch?" asked Tyler, surprised. Sunrise Ranch was famous for its competition horses. "That's right." Kathy moved closer to the fence. "I came because we have a problem similar to yours. A prize-winning mare who, after an accident during a competition, won't let anyone ride her. We've tried everything." Emma, who was approaching with a water bottle for Tyler, heard the end of the conversation. Kathy Lynch, the state champion. Rider. Her eyes shone with admiration. Kathy smiled without affectation. Ex-champion. "I haven't competed in 2 years." "Why?" asked Tyler, genuinely curious. A veil of sadness covered the young woman's face. "I lost my father. He was the one who trained our horses. After he was gone, many things changed at the ranch." Dr. Miller, who was arriving for his daily inspection, greeted the visitor with a warm hug. "Kathy, it's been a while. How's your mother?" Struggling to keep the ranch running, Uncle Miller, Tyler looked surprised at Emma, who whispered, "Her mother and my dad are cousins. Our families were close when I was little." The conversation extended until lunch, when everyone was invited to the main house. During the meal, Kathy explained the situation in detail. Black Star was our biggest hope for the national championships. One day during training, a dog invaded the track and scared her. She fell, broke her front leg. She was in recovery for 6 months. When she finally healed, she wasn't the same anymore. She bites, rears up, rejects any attempt at training. "Have you tried alternative methods?" asked Dr. Wilson, who was staying at the ranch to work with Tyler. "All of them. Nothing works." Kathy looked at Tyler intently. "That's why I'm here. I want to invite you to spend a few days at Sunrise Ranch." A tense silence descended over the table. Sarah, who was serving dessert, froze in place. "He's just a boy," protested Dr. Miller. "He's still learning." "With all due respect, Doctor, what he did with Tornado was extraordinary." Kathy didn't look away. "We're willing to pay well for his consultation." Tyler felt the weight of all the gazes on him. He had never imagined that his work with Tornado could take him beyond the limits. "Of Hope Ranch. I need to finish what I started here first," he finally replied. "Tornado still has a long way to go." "I understand, but think about my invitation." Kathy smiled. "Maybe you can visit on weekends when you're free from Dr. Wilson's project." That night, Tyler's sleep was restless. He dreamed of Tornado galloping freely through the fields, while he himself remained trapped by invisible chains. He woke up startled when his mother entered the room. "Tyler, wake up. Something happened at the ranch." Still in his pajamas, the boy ran to the stables. A group of employees was gathered in front of Tornado's paddock, where Dr. Miller and Emma were already present. The gate was open, and there was no sign of the horse. "Who did this?" demanded Dr. Miller, furious. One of the night handlers, pale, stammered. I did my rounds at 3 in the morning, doctor. Everything was normal. When I came back at 5, the gate was open and the horse was gone." "He didn't escape on his own," Tyler affirmed, examining the lock. "Someone opened this, on purpose." Dr. Miller exchanged a significant look with the foreman. "Call the police and organize search teams. I want that horse back before nightfall." While everyone was mobilizing, Kathy approached Tyler. "It's no coincidence," she said in a low voice. "Harrison is behind this. How can you be sure?" "I know that family well. My father refused to do business with them several times because of the methods they use with animals." Her eyes hardened. "The Colonel doesn't accept losing, Tyler, and he has influence over many people in the region." An hour later, while the teams were preparing to leave, a new employee hired just 2 weeks ago didn't show up for work. His name was Ronald, and nobody knew much about his past. "It was him," exclaimed Emma. "I always saw him prowling around the stables outside working. Hours. I thought it was dedication." Frank, who until then had remained strangely quiet, cleared his throat. "Dr. Miller, I think I know where they might have taken the horse. There's an old abandoned warehouse on the border with the Colonel's land. It's been used for animal smuggling in the past." Everyone stared at him with surprise and distrust. "And how do you know this, Frank?" questioned Dr. Miller. The trainer looked away. "I received an offer from the Colonel's man to facilitate the sale of Tornado." His voice dropped to almost a whisper. "I refused, but I know they wouldn't give up easily." Tyler felt his blood boil. "And you didn't say anything?" "I thought they were just empty threats," Frank defended himself. "I never thought they would actually steal the animal." Dr. Miller grabbed his pickup truck keys. "Let's go there. And you, Frank, come with us. If you're lying." "I'm not. I want to help fix this." Dr. Miller's old pickup truck advanced along the dirt road, raising dust under the intense afternoon sun. In the front seat, besides the ranch owner, sat Tyler and Frank. In the back seat, Emma, Kathy, and 2 trusted ranch hands squeezed together in tense silence. "We're getting close," announced Frank, pointing to an abandoned building that stood solitary among dry bushes. "It's there." Dr. Miller parked at a certain distance, hiding the vehicle behind a small hill. "How should we proceed?" he asked, looking at the warehouse with concern. "We need to verify if Tornado is really there," replied Kathy, "and how many people are guarding him." Tyler was already opening the door. "I'll go. I can approach without being seen." "No way! Sarah would have a fit if she knew I let you risk yourself like this," protested Dr. Miller. "Doctor, with all due respect, if Tornado is scared, I'm the only person he'll recognize and trust." After a moment of hesitation, Dr. Miller nodded. "All right, but Emma and Kathy go with you. You 3 just observe, understood? If you see anything suspicious, come back immediately." The 3 young people crept through the low vegetation, carefully approaching the warehouse. When they got close enough, they hid behind a pile of abandoned hay bales. From there, they could see the side entrance of the place. 2 men were smoking outside, talking in low voices. "Can you hear what they're saying?" whispered Emma. "More or less," replied Kathy, narrowing her eyes. "They're complaining about the delay. It seems someone important is coming to get the horse. We need to be sure Tornado is in there," murmured Tyler, evaluating the possibilities. As if responding to the call of his name, a loud neigh echoed from inside the warehouse, followed by the sound of hooves hitting wood. "It's him," exclaimed Tyler, recognizing the characteristic sound. "He's agitated." Kathy held Tyler's arm when the boy made a move to move. "Wait, we need a plan. There are at least 2 men outside, and we don't know how many more might be inside." "Let's go back and tell my dad," suggested Emma. "He'll know what to do." When they returned to the pickup truck and reported what they had seen, Dr. Miller took out his cell phone. "I'm going to call the police. This is theft, pure and simple." "The police will take time to get here," argued Frank, "and by the time they arrive, the horse may have been taken away." "What do you suggest then?" questioned Dr. Miller, irritated. "We can create a distraction," proposed Kathy. "Something that attracts the men outside the warehouse while someone enters through the back to get Tornado." Before they could elaborate a concrete plan, they saw a luxurious pickup truck approaching the warehouse on the main road. "It's Jake Harrison's car," informed Frank, tense. "He came to get the horse personally." Tyler didn't think twice. He jumped from the pickup truck and ran toward the warehouse, ignoring the desperate calls of the others. "Tyler, come back here," shouted Dr. Miller, getting out of the vehicle. But the boy was already far away, running with a determination that surprised everyone. Going around the warehouse to the back, he found a small, broken window. Without hesitation, he slipped through, it falling onto dusty hay bales. The interior of the warehouse was dark and stuffy. In the center, Tornado was tied with ropes to a wooden post, visibly agitated. Two men were trying to put a strong halter on him, while the animal resisted, neighing with fear. "Hold that beast properly," ordered one of them. "The boss has arrived and wants to take him today." Tyler crouched behind some crates, assessing the situation. He needed to distract the men to get to Tornado. Looking around, he saw a metal bucket. With a quick movement, he threw it far away, creating a clatter that echoed through the warehouse. "What was that?" One of the men dropped the ropes. "Is someone here?" While the two headed to the source of the noise, Tyler ran to Tornado. The horse, immediately recognizing him, calmed down a bit. "Easy, friend," whispered the boy, quickly undoing the knots that bound the animal. "Let's get out of here." That moment, the main door of the warehouse opened, revealing Jake Harrison. His face contorted with rage when he saw Tyler. "What is this kid doing here?" he shouted. "Get him!" The two men ran back, but it was too late. Tyler had mounted Tornado without a saddle, holding on to just his mane. The horse, sensing the danger, reared violently, making the men back away. "Now, Tornado!" shouted Tyler. If understanding every word, the animal darted toward the side door of the warehouse, knocking it down with the force of the impact. Outside, the Hope Ranch contingent watched open-mouthed at the spectacular escape. Tornado was galloping across the open field, with Tyler firmly gripping his back, when they heard the sound of an engine accelerating. Jake Harrison had gotten into his pickup truck and was now chasing them, raising dust along the dirt road. "Faster, Tornado!" encouraged Tyler, leaning over the animal's neck. The pursuit lasted minutes that seemed like hours. Tornado jumped over small obstacles, swerved around thorny bushes, always maintaining distance from the vehicle. Finally, they reached the property of Hope Ranch, where several employees, alerted by a phone call from Dr. Miller, were already waiting for them. When Jake Harrison saw the gathered group, he braked abruptly. Realizing he was outnumbered, he limited himself to shouting threats before turning around and leaving. Tyler slid from Tornado's back, his legs trembling from the effort and adrenaline. Sarah ran to him, hugging him tightly. "Never do that again, Tyler. I thought I was going to lose you." Dr. Miller approached, his face a mixture of relief and admiration. "That was the bravest and most reckless thing I've ever seen anyone do." He placed his hand on the boy's shoulder. "But you saved Tornado and you proved something important today." "What?" asked Tyler, still breathless. "That he trusts you completely." Dr. Miller looked at the horse, which remained calmly beside the boy despite all the commotion. "You've connected in a way I've never seen before." That night, while the entire ranch commented on the heroic feat, Dr. Miller called a special meeting in his office. Present were Tyler, Sarah, Emma, Kathy, Dr. Wilson, and, surprisingly, Frank. "First, I need to thank Frank," began Dr. Miller. "Despite the mistakes he made, he helped us recover Tornado." Frank, visibly uncomfortable, nodded. "I should have told you about the Harrisons' threats before. It was irresponsible of me." "Second," continued Dr. Miller, turning to Tyler, "I have something important to tell you. After what happened today, I've made a decision." He took an envelope from the drawer and handed it to the boy. "These are Tornado's ownership papers. From now on, he's officially yours." Tyler looked incredulously at the document in his hands. His name next to Tornado's on official paper. Sarah covered her mouth with her hands, too emotional to speak. "Is this serious?" stammered the boy, searching Dr. Miller's eyes for any sign of a joke. Completely serious, confirmed the rancher, smiling. A horse like Tornado needs someone who understands him, who respects him. That someone is you, Tyler. But he's worth a fortune, protested the boy. I can't accept. I'm not giving him away for free, explained Dr. Miller, with an amused gleam in his eyes. You're going to work to pay for him, as a ranch trainer, recovering other animals, teaching your technique. It's an investment in your future, and in the future of Hope Ranch. Dr. Wilson, who was observing the scene with interest, stepped forward. Actually, I have a proposal that might help in this regard. She turned to everyone in the room. In 3 months, the National Dressage Championship will take place in Dallas. I think Tyler and Tornado should compete. A perplexed silence took over the office. Compete, repeated Emma, astonished. But Tornado was never trained for competitions, and Tyler has no experience in championships. Precisely why it would be extraordinary, argued Hannah. Imagine the impact, a horse considered beyond recovery, and a young trainer debuting together at a national event. Even if they don't win, the story itself is worth the participation. It would be great publicity for the ranch, agreed Dr. Miller thoughtfully. And for your method, Tyler. The boy felt the weight of responsibility falling on his shoulders. One thing was working with Tornado in the safe and familiar environment of the ranch. Another, completely different, was presenting him in a crowded arena with judges, other competitors, noise, lights. I don't know if he's ready for that, admitted Tyler. Tornado still gets easily scared by new situations. That's why we need to start preparing him now, intervened Kathy, with renewed enthusiasm in her voice. I can help. I know the competition circuit well. I can help too, offered Frank, surprising everyone. I know the technical aspects of dressage better than anyone here. In the days that followed, Hope Ranch transformed into a dedicated training center. A special arena was prepared, with sound, equipment, to simulate the noisy environment of competitions. Frank, redeeming himself from his past mistakes, had become a valuable ally, sharing his technical knowledge without trying to impose traditional methods. Kathy, who had extended her stay, worked directly with Tyler, teaching him the rules and protocols of dressage competitions. The basic presentation includes entrance at trot, halt, immobility, and salute, she explained, as they walked around the arena. Then come the lateral movements, the changes of direction, the transitions between gaits. Tyler absorbed everything with a thirst for knowledge that impressed even Dr. Wilson, who supervised the process from a distance, coming to the ranch once a week. Gradually, Tornado also evolved. He now accepted the complete saddle, responded to Tyler's subtle commands, and began to execute more complex movements. He still had moments of tension when something frightened him, but recovery was increasingly faster. One afternoon, while they were training in the main arena, Dr. Miller appeared accompanied by a tall, elegant man with graying hair and impeccable posture. Tyler, I want you to meet Carl Matthews. He's a judge in the National Dressage Circuit and came especially to see you and Tornado. The boy dismounted and greeted the visitor with respect. It's an honor, sir. The pleasure is mine, Tyler. The man's voice was deep and educated. I've heard remarkable stories about you and this horse. I'd like to see you in action, if you don't mind. With his heart racing, Tyler mounted Tornado again and began to demonstrate what they had learned. The horse responded with surprising precision, executing smooth transitions between walk, trot, and canter, performing perfect circles and elegant changes of direction. When they finished, Carl Matthews was applauding with genuine enthusiasm. Extraordinary. The connection between you is something rare to see, even among experienced competitors. Thank you, sir. Tyler smiled, caressing Tornado's neck. However, continued the judge, his face becoming more serious, I must warn you about some specific challenges of the championship. The environment is intense. Lights, music, sudden applause. For a horse with a history of trauma, it can be extremely stressful. We're working on that, assured Tyler, but we still have a lot to improve. There's also the matter of other competitors. Carl hesitated, looking at Dr. Miller. Jake Harrison has registered with his new horse, Emperor, and he won't be happy to see Tornado there. A heavy silence fell over the group. The mention of Harrison's name brought back memories of Tornado's kidnapping and the danger he represented. "We won't be intimidated," declared Dr. Miller firmly. "If Tyler and Tornado are ready, they'll compete. Harrison better be prepared." That night, Tyler couldn't sleep. The responsibility, the fear, the excitement, it all mixed in his mind. He got up silently and went to the paddock where Tornado slept. The horse raised his head when he sensed his presence. "Hey, buddy," whispered the boy, caressing the animal's muzzle. "Do you think we can do it?" Tornado snorted softly as if answering the question. "I'm scared too," admitted Tyler. "There are so many people counting on us now." "It's not about them." Kathy's voice surprised Tyler. She was approaching along the trail, illuminated only by moonlight. "It's about you two, about showing the world what happens when you choose patience instead of force." "What if we fail?" Tyler's voice trembled slightly. "Then you fail trying." Kathy smiled. "But honestly, after what I saw today, I think you're going to surprise a lot of people." In the weeks that followed, training intensified. Dr. Miller organized a small event at the ranch, inviting owners and trainers from the region for a preliminary presentation. The objective was to simulate the competition environment and test Tornado's reaction. The day of the presentation dawned sunny and hot. Dozens of guests occupied the improvised stands. Music played through the speakers. Colorful flags fluttered in the wind. Tyler, wearing a borrowed formal uniform, felt his stomach churning with nervousness as he waited at the entrance to the arena. "Remember what we practiced," said Kathy, adjusting Tornado's halter one last time. "If he gets too tense, simplify the presentation. The priority is to stay calm." "What if he panics?" asked Tyler, his mouth dry. "Trust the bond you have." Kathy squeezed his shoulder encouragingly. "He feels your energy. If you stay calm, he will too." The moment of entry arrived. The music increased in volume. Tyler and Tornado's names were announced. With a deep breath, the boy led the horse to the center of the arena, where hundreds of eyes watched them in silent expectation. For a terrible moment, Tornado hesitated, his ears pricked up. In alert, his body tense, Tyler felt panic growing in his chest. Then gently he leaned forward and whispered, "We're in this together, friend, trust me." As if a switch had been flipped, Tornado relaxed. The presentation began. The presentation at Hope Ranch exceeded all expectations. Tornado executed each movement with a grace that seemed impossible for an animal that, months before, was considered beyond recovery. When Tyler and the horse finished their exhibition, a reverent silence hung over the audience before they erupted into enthusiastic applause. "Did you see that?" one horse breeder commented to another. "The connection between them is extraordinary. And to think this is the same animal that almost destroyed Colonel Harrison's stable," replied the other, shaking his head in disbelief. Carl Matthews, the invited judge, approached Tyler as soon as he dismounted. "Impressive, young man. You're ready for the national championship." His smile was genuine, but his eyes showed concern. "Just one piece of advice. On the day of the competition, don't leave Tornado alone for even a minute. People like Harrison don't play fair." The following weeks passed in a whirlwind of preparations. Dr. Miller took care of the logistics, hiring specialized transportation to take Tornado to Dallas with all possible comfort. Kathy supervised the final training sessions, refining the last details of the presentation. Emma, in turn, had transformed herself into a kind of public relations officer, documenting the entire journey with photos and videos for the ranch's social media. On the eve of departure, while Tyler was packing his belongings, Sarah entered the room carrying a worn box. "This belonged to your grandfather," she said, placing the box on the bed. "I think he would like you to have it now." Inside the box was a brooch of aged silver in the shape of a horse's head. He wore this in all competitions. He said it brought luck. Sarah's eyes were misty. "Your grandfather would be so proud of you, my son." Tyler hugged his mother tightly. "Thank you, Mom, for everything, for believing in me even when no one else did. I always knew you were special, Tyler. From when you were little, you had this gift of seeing beyond appearances." The trip to Dallas was smooth. Tornado, to everyone's surprise, remained calm throughout the journey, as if he understood the importance of the moment. They arrived at the equestrian center, where the championship would be held in the late afternoon, with enough time to accommodate the horse and allow him to get used to the new environment. "Wow, this is huge," exclaimed Tyler, looking admiringly at the imposing structure of the equestrian center. He had never been in such a grand place. "And this is nothing compared to what we'll see tomorrow when the place is full," commented Kathy, guiding him through the stables. As they walked, Tyler noticed curious looks and some disdainful smiles from other competitors. He was by far the youngest there, and many clearly didn't take him seriously. "Ignore them," whispered Emma, noticing his discomfort. "They haven't seen what you can do yet." As they turned a corner, they came face to face with Jake Harrison, who was inspecting an impressive chestnut horse. Well, if it isn't the little horse thief," said Harrison with a cold smile. "You should be ashamed to show up here." Dr. Miller stepped forward, positioning himself between Tyler and Harrison. "The only thief here is the one who tried to steal someone else's animal, Jake. I suggest you move away and focus on your own presentation." "You'll regret challenging me," muttered Harrison, before walking away with his handler. That night, Tyler could barely sleep. Nervousness about the championship mixed with concern about Harrison's veiled threats. He got up before dawn and went to check on Tornado. To his relief, the horse seemed calm, eating the fresh hay contentedly. "Today's the big day, buddy," said Tyler, stroking the animal's neck. "We just need to do our best, right?" As the morning progressed, the equestrian center filled up. Hundreds of spectators, competitors, judges, and journalists circulated through the place. The constant buzz, the speakers announcing the participants, the neighing of dozens of horses, all created an electrifying and potentially stressful atmosphere for Tornado. "Keep him focused." "On you," advised Dr. Wilson, who had come especially for the event. "Talk to him constantly. Be his point of reference amid the chaos." When there was an hour left before Tyler's presentation, a commotion erupted in the stables. Someone had dropped a pile of metal equipment, causing a deafening clatter. Several horses reacted nervously, including Tornado, who began to rear and neigh. "Easy, Tornado, easy," shouted Tyler, trying to calm the animal, but the horse seemed not to hear him, lost in his own terror. Kathy ran to help. "This was no accident," she murmured, noticing a man walking away quickly. "We need to calm him down before the presentation or we'll be disqualified." For 20 agonizing minutes, Tyler worked to reconnect with Tornado. He spoke softly, caressed his muzzle, tried to bring him back to balance. Gradually the horse calmed down, but still showed signs of tension. "Will he be able to perform?" asked Dr. Miller, concerned. "Yes, he will," Tyler replied with surprising determination. "We didn't come this far to give up now." When Tyler and Tornado's names were announced, the audience applauded politely, more out of curiosity than expectation. The story of the boy who had recovered an irrecoverable horse had spread, but few believed they would have a chance against professional competitors. Tyler led Tornado to the entrance of the arena. The horse still showed signs of nervousness, his ears moving restlessly, his body tense. "Trust me," whispered Tyler, leaning close to the animal's ear. "It's just you and me now, like in the beginning, remember?" Something in the tone of the boy's voice seemed to reach Tornado. The horse, visibly relaxed, as if finally centering on the familiar presence of the boy. The music began. They entered the arena. The presentation started perfectly. Tornado executed each command with precision, responding to Tyler's lightest touch. The audience, initially skeptical, began to show admiration with murmurs and restrained applause. Then, in the middle of the presentation, a camera flash fired directly toward Tornado. The horse startled, momentarily losing rhythm. Tyler felt panic growing in the animal, threatening to destroy everything they had worked for. In that critical moment, Tyler did something unexpected. Instead of trying to control Tornado with the reins or firm commands, he leaned forward and whispered a single word: "Trust." It was the word he always repeated during the most difficult training sessions, when Tornado faced some new challenge. The response was immediate and almost magical. The horse regained his balance, resuming the sequence of movements as if nothing had happened. When they completed the presentation, the silence in the arena was broken by a spontaneous ovation. People rose from their seats, applauding enthusiastically. Even the judges, normally impassive, showed admiration. While they waited for the results, Jake Harrison passed by them with a contemptuous smile. "Nice trick with the stolen horse, but it won't be enough." Tyler ignored the provocation, focusing on calming Tornado and preparing him for the return to the stable. The results were announced at the end of the day. Jake Harrison and his impressive Emperor won first place, as was widely expected. A veteran competitor from Dallas took second place, and to general amazement, including Tyler himself, Tornado and the young trainer won third place, an extraordinary feat for beginners. "Third place," shouted Emma, hugging Tyler tightly. "You did it!" Dr. Miller, normally reserved, had misty eyes. "Your grandfather would be more than proud, kid. He would be amazed." The award ceremony was a moment of pure emotion. When Tyler went up to the podium wearing his grandfather's silver brooch pinned to his chest, he felt he had completed a circle. From invisible boy to award-winning trainer, from a boy with no future to a young man with a purpose. After the championship, the offers began to arrive. Ranches from all over the country wanted to hire Tyler to work with problematic horses. Specialized magazines requested interviews. A TV station proposed a documentary about his story with Tornado. But the proposal that really captured the attention of Tyler and Dr. Miller came from Dr. Wilson, to create, at Hope Ranch itself, a specialized center for the recovery of traumatized horses using the methods developed by Tyler. "We could help dozens of animals that would otherwise be discarded," explained Hannah enthusiastically, "and train new professionals in this approach." "What do you think, Tyler?" asked Dr. Miller. "It would be a big change for the ranch." The boy looked at Tornado, who was grazing peacefully in the paddock, then at his mother, who smiled with pride, at Emma, who had become his inseparable friend, and at Kathy, who had decided to stay at Hope Ranch as an instructor. "I think it's exactly what we should do," he answered, smiling. "Transform stories of pain into stories of hope." A year later, the Equine Rehabilitation Center at Hope Ranch was officially inaugurated. At the entrance, a bronze plaque displayed a photo of Tyler and Tornado during their presentation at the championship, with a simple but profound inscription: "To see beyond the scars, you must look with your heart." And as he guided the first group of visitors through the new facilities, Tyler was certain that he had found not only his vocation, but his place in the world. A place where the impossible